Most women have no idea that what a man texts you after sex tells you more about his feelings than anything he says during it. Think about that for a second. All the times you've been lying there, heart wide open, wondering, does he actually care about me, or was I just convenient? The answer was right there, sitting in your phone, in those first few texts after he left. Because here's what nobody tells you. Men can control a lot of things. They can control when they call. They can control what they say on a date. They can control how charming they act when they want something. But when a man is emotionally attached to you, genuinely, deeply attached, those post-intimacy texts give him away every single time. He cannot stop it. It's like a reflex he doesn't even know he has. If you've ever felt confused, dismissed, or uncertain about where you actually stand with a man after sleeping with him, this video is going to change everything for you. By the end of this, you will know exactly which texts reveal real emotional attachment, which ones are just habit or performance, and most importantly, what to do with that information. Stay with me. This matters. Let me paint you a picture you might recognize. You've been seeing someone for a while, maybe a few weeks, maybe a few months. Things have progressed. You've been intimate. And in those quiet moments after, you feel something real, a warmth, a closeness, a kind of hope that this might actually be something. And then he leaves. Or maybe you leave. And you're sitting there with your phone in your hand and you're waiting, watching those 3 little dots. Or worse, not seeing them at all. And the questions start. Did that mean as much to him as it did to me? Is he talking to someone else? Does he think about me the way I think about him? Or am I just one of several options he's keeping warm? You've been trying so hard to read the signals, overanalyzing every text, asking your friends, Googling things you'd never say out loud, and you still don't have a clear answer. Here's the hard truth, and I say this with complete compassion because I've seen this pattern in thousands of women. Most women are looking for emotional clarity in the wrong places. They're looking at grand gestures, at how often he calls, at whether he's deleted his dating apps. All of that matters, eventually. But in the early stages, when a man is falling for you but hasn't said it yet, the most unguarded, unfiltered window into his emotional world is those first texts after you've been together physically. Because intimacy lowers a man's walls. Not forever, not dramatically, but for a short window, the social performance drops. The strategy disappears. And what comes through in those texts is him. Raw, unedited, real. The question is, do you know what you're looking at? That's exactly what we're going to fix today. 7 texts, 7 patterns that reveal a man is emotionally attached. Let's go. On the surface, this looks like nothing. It looks polite. It looks like something anyone would send. And that's exactly why most women dismiss it entirely. Don't. When a man texts you, unprompted, asking if you got home safe, he is not performing good manners. He is telling you that his mind is still on you. That even though the evening is over, even though he has his own life to get back to, some part of his brain is still watching out for you, still invested in your well-being. Think about how men operate when they are not emotionally attached. When a man is treating an encounter as purely physical, as something transactional, He disconnects the moment it's over. The mental file closes. His thoughts move on. He is not lying in bed wondering if you made it home safely. That thought doesn't even occur to him. But when a man is emotionally attached, you don't leave his mind just because you left his space. And that "did you get home safe" text is the involuntary proof of that. Picture this. Sarah had been seeing David for about 6 weeks. The first few times she came over, she drove home afterward and never heard from him until the next day. She started to worry. Was this casual for him? But on the 4th time, as she pulled into her driveway at midnight, her phone lit up. "Hey, just checking you got back okay." Not a big declaration, not 3 paragraphs about how amazing she is, just that. And she almost scrolled past it, but it told her everything. He was still thinking about her. She was still his concern. That's not a man who's finished with you for the night. That's a man who's let you in. The mini insight here is this. Protection is one of the first emotional languages a man speaks when he's falling for someone. Watch for it. But here's where it gets interesting. There's a particular kind of text that most women receive and completely underestimate. It's the one that comes the morning after, or even a couple of days later, and references something specific, something you said in conversation, something small, something you might have half forgotten. He texts, "I've been thinking about what you said about your mum. Are you okay?" Or, "That film you mentioned, I looked it up. You were right, it looks incredible." Or, "I keep thinking about what you said you wanted to do in Italy." That text is not an accident. It is proof that he was listening, not just hearing the sound of your voice, not just waiting for his turn to speak, actually listening, processing, storing, and then bringing it back up because it mattered to him. Emotionally unavailable men are present in their bodies and absent in their minds. They enjoy the moment and retain almost nothing. But an emotionally attached man is collecting pieces of you. He's building a mental picture. He wants to understand you, not just desire you. And the callback text is him showing you the evidence of that. Let me give you an example. Rachel had been seeing Marcus for 2 months. After a long evening together, she had mentioned, almost in passing, that she was nervous about a presentation at work the following week. She didn't make a big deal of it. They talked about other things. 2 days later, a text arrived. "How did the presentation go? I've been rooting for you." Rachel told me that text affected her more than any compliment he'd ever paid her, because it proved he hadn't just been physically present with her. He was emotionally engaged. He was rooting for her. That's not a man who sees you as a body. That's a man who sees you as a person and wants you to win. The mini insight. A man who remembers your details is a man who values your story. Don't overlook the quiet proof. Now, this next one might surprise you. Pay very close attention here, because this is the one that tells you the most. And it's the one that's easiest to miss, because it often comes disguised as something casual. After a night together, in the window of emotional openness that intimacy creates, some men will send a text that reveals something personal. Not a declaration of love, not a big dramatic confession, something quieter. Something like, "I haven't felt this relaxed in a long time." Or, "I don't usually open up like this. I'm not sure what it is about you." Or even just, last night was different. Different. That word. That small, unassuming word. Do you know what it takes for a man to send that text? It takes him recognizing and choosing to acknowledge that his emotional experience with you was not standard. That you moved something in him that doesn't normally get moved. And here's the key thing. Most men are not consciously strategic in that moment. They're not thinking, I should say this to keep her interested. They're saying it because it's true. And for once, the guard was low enough to let it out. Men are taught from a very young age to protect their emotional world, to keep the chest closed, to not show what they feel before they know it's safe. Physical intimacy temporarily bypasses that training. And when a man sends you a text that says, this was different, or I don't usually feel this way, or I find myself wanting to tell you things, he is handing you something precious. He is handing you a piece of his inner world that he normally keeps locked. Think about James. He had a reputation among his friends as the guy who never got attached, dated a lot, nothing stuck. Then he met Claire. And the morning after the first time they were really intimate, he texted her, I woke up and my first thought was you. That doesn't usually happen. He didn't follow it up with a date plan or a charming line. He just said it and left it there. Unfinished. A little exposed. Claire almost made a joke of it because she didn't know what to do with that level of honesty from him. But she caught herself. She texted back warmly, simply, without deflecting. And that was the moment their relationship truly began. Think about that for a second. A man telling you this doesn't usually happen is a man who has just handed you the most honest thing he has. It's rare, it's real. And if you meet it with warmth instead of doubt, it can be the opening of something truly significant. The mini insight. Vulnerability from a guarded man is not a weakness. It is evidence of the deepest kind of trust. Receive it carefully. And if you think that was powerful, wait for this. There's a very specific version of this text that matters. Not the polite, scheduled, we should do this again sometime that men send out of social courtesy. I'm talking about the text that arrives before he's even had time to think about whether sending it is smart. You're barely home. You're still in your car or still taking your makeup off or still processing the evening, and his text comes through. Already thinking about when I get to see you again. Or when are you free this week? Or simply, I miss you already. That urgency is involuntary. He didn't plan that text. If he were operating purely from logic, from strategy, he would wait a day, maybe two. He'd think, I don't want to seem too keen. I don't want to give too much away. But he didn't do that because something in him was stronger than his strategy. That something is called emotional attachment. And it overrode his social caution before he even noticed it happening. Now, some of you will read this and think, but what if he's just like that? What if he texts everyone quickly? And that is a fair question. Context always matters. But here's how you know the difference. When a man who is physically driven sends a quick follow-up text, it's almost always about making the next encounter happen. It's logistical. It's about scheduling another meeting. But when a man is emotionally attached, that text is about you. It's about the fact that you are already missing from his space, and he doesn't quite like that feeling. There's a difference between wanting the experience again and wanting you again. One is appetite, the other is attachment. Sophie had been hurt before by men who seemed keen and then disappeared. So when Tom texted her within 20 minutes of dropping her home, saying, "I'm already counting down to the next time I see you," her first instinct was skepticism. This is too much. He's just saying what he thinks I want to hear. But Tom kept showing up exactly like that text suggested he would. Consistent, present, early. Because it wasn't performance, it was honest. She almost let her past stop her from seeing what was right there. The mini insight. A man who cannot wait to wait, who texts before strategy kicks in, is a man already past the point of just liking you. Now let's talk about something that flies completely under the radar. This one is quiet. It's not dramatic. It doesn't come with exclamation points or big energy, but it might be one of the most consistent indicators of emotional attachment that exists. It's the text that arrives mid-afternoon on a Tuesday, days after you were last together, that says nothing more than, "Hey, how's your day going?" Or, "Just thinking about you. Hope you're having a good one." No question about when he can see you. No compliment that's angling for something. No ask. Just contact. Just him reaching out because being connected to you feels better than not being connected to you. When a man is emotionally detached, he thinks about you when he wants something. When he wants companionship, when he wants physical connection, when he's bored. But an emotionally attached man thinks about you when he wants nothing. When his life is just moving forward normally, and somehow you appear in his mind anyway. And he acts on it. Not because there's gain in it, just because you crossed his mind and he wanted you to know. That is not a small thing. In a world where everybody has a reason for everything they do, a purposeless, agenda-free text is an act of genuine emotional openness. It is him saying, "I thought of you." That's the whole story. Emma was in a relationship with Daniel, and she nearly ended things because she thought he didn't make enough effort. He wasn't flashy, he didn't send long voice notes or plan elaborate surprises, but every single day, without fail, there was a small text. "You doing okay today?" Or, "Heard a song that made me think of you." She had been so busy waiting for the grand gesture that she missed the daily tenderness. When she finally saw what those small texts actually meant, that she was living in his thoughts consistently, not just when it was convenient, she told me, "I realized he'd been telling me he loved me for months. I just hadn't been listening in the right language." The mini insight. A man who texts you with nothing to gain has everything to give. Don't overlook the ordinary. And here's the one most women completely misread. Most men, particularly in early relationships, stick to the surface when texting. How was work? What are you up to? What do you want to eat? Surface level is safe. Surface level is easy. Surface level doesn't require him to risk anything. So when a man breaks from that pattern, when he texts you after an intimate evening and asks something like, "Are you okay?" Like, genuinely okay. Or, "How are you feeling about everything between us?" Or even just, "Was last night good for you? I want to make sure you felt good about it." That is a man who is operating from a completely different place. He is asking because he cares. Not about the transaction, not about whether he performed well in a self-centered way, but about your emotional experience. He wants to know if you are okay. He wants to know if you felt valued. That level of emotional attentiveness in a man is not common. And when you find it, it is almost always a sign that his feelings for you are serious. There's also a version of this that's even more telling. The man who texts you and says, "I want to be honest with you. Last night made me feel things I wasn't expecting." He is not just checking on you. He is bringing you into his inner experience because he has decided, consciously or not, that you deserve to be there. That kind of emotional honesty from a man is an act of tremendous courage because men are not taught to share how things made them feel. When one chooses to do that, unprompted, unscripted, take it seriously. The mini insight: a man who asks about your feelings has already moved past the surface. He's let you into the deeper room. And finally, the one that ties everything together. Pay very close attention here because this one can pass you by without fanfare, and yet it contains everything. After a wonderful evening together, some men will send a text that in the most natural, offhand way places you in their future. Not a marriage proposal, not a big declaration, something like, "We should do that hike you mentioned, maybe next month." Or, "I was reading about that restaurant, I want to take you there." Or even just, "I think you'd love my friends. I'd like you to meet them sometime." A man who sees you as a short-term, non-serious encounter does not picture you in his future. He simply doesn't. The mental real estate isn't allocated. He is essentially thinking in the present tense with you. But a man who is emotionally attached is already building a version of the future that includes you. He's not asking himself, "Should I let this person in?" She's already in. She's already part of the mental landscape. And those little future-facing texts are the evidence. And here's the thing. He often doesn't even realize how much he's revealing when he sends them. He thinks he's just making a casual plan. But what he's actually doing is showing you that you've passed a threshold in his mind. You're not just the woman from last night. You're the woman he imagines being with in 4 weeks, in 6 months, at a dinner with his friends. Think about what that means. We protect our futures fiercely. We don't invite people into our plans carelessly. When a man puts you in his future, even in the lightest, most casual way, he is saying, "I am not done with you. I am not keeping my options open with you. I am thinking about building something with you." Natalie had been deeply hurt by a man who used to say all the right things in the moment, but never once suggested anything that extended beyond the current week. She was always the one proposing plans, always the one trying to create continuity. Then she met Greg. And one morning, after they'd spent time together, he texted, "I'm going to a wedding in October. I'd really like it if you came with me." October was 4 months away. He wasn't just inviting her to a wedding. He was telling her, without using those words, that he expected her to still be in his life in October. That she was someone worth planning around, worth keeping, worth the assumption of a future. The mini insight? When a man puts you in his future, even casually, he has already decided something about you. The decision is good. So let's bring this home. You came to this video asking one question underneath all the other questions. Does he actually care? And what I hope you're walking away with is not just a list, but a new way of seeing, a new fluency in a language that men speak whether they mean to or not. We talked about the protection text, the quiet, did you get home safe, that proves you're still in his mind. We talked about the callback text, where he references something you said, showing you he was genuinely listening. We talked about the vulnerable text, the rarest and most precious of all, where his guard comes down and something true slips out. We talked about the urgency text, sent too early, too quickly, before strategy could stop it. We talked about the agenda-free check-in, the Tuesday afternoon text that serves no purpose except connection. We talked about the text that asks how you feel, not how your day went, but how you are. And we talked about the future text, where, without ceremony or fanfare, he writes you into what's ahead. None of these are grand gestures. None of them require speeches or declarations. They are small. They are quiet. They are the language of a man who doesn't yet have the words for what he's feeling, or who does, but hasn't found the courage to say them directly yet. And if you've been missing these signals because you were waiting for something bigger, more cinematic, more obvious, I want you to give yourself permission to stop waiting, because here is what I want you to really hold on to. The most important thing is not whether you can read a man's texts correctly. The most important thing is whether you are showing up as the woman who makes it easy for a man with real feelings to express them. Whether you are receiving his small gestures with warmth instead of skepticism. Whether you are meeting his vulnerability with safety instead of tests. Whether you are open, genuinely, courageously open to love that doesn't always arrive wrapped in the packaging you expected. You are not someone who needs to decode a man for the rest of your life. You are someone who deserves a man who makes it clear. But right now, in the early stages, in the messy and beautiful beginning of something real, these texts are your compass. Use them. Stop dismissing the small things. Stop waiting for the grand things. Start paying attention to what's actually being said to you in the space between the words. You deserve clarity. You deserve consistency. You deserve a man whose actions, whose texts, whose concern, whose planning, whose vulnerability tell you every single day that you matter to him. Don't settle for anything less than that. Don't explain away the absence of it. And don't overlook the presence of it when it's right there in front of you. This is your moment. Don't waste it. If this spoke to you, subscribe to this channel and watch our next video. 5 things he does when he's falling in love, but too scared to say it. It will answer the question this video leaves at the door. What happens after he starts showing these signs? And what you do next. I'll see you there.